What's going on, ladies and gents, and welcome back to another video. I really appreciate you stopping back by on this first day after the caddis attack. The event hasn't even been 24 hours ago, and there's still so much to talk about. In this video, we're gonna dig even deeper into what happened yesterday and talk about exactly what that strange orb in the middle of Loot Lake could be. Make sure to drop a like on the video, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel if you like what you see and you want to see daily content. Check out my social links in the description below, and let's get into it. So, as I'm sure you guys know, there is a mysterious orb at Loot Lake, and nobody knows really what it is. There have been lots of theories going around over the past day. The only thing we know for sure is, according to game files, this orb is going to continue to progress through various stages until it gets to a final form, a couple days before the season officially ends. In case you're wondering, that's right around 10 days from now. The background footage of the orb was recorded just moments ago before I started working on this video. This is current. As you can see, it definitely appears to be pulsating more rapidly than it was yesterday. It also looks like there are more lights and glowing auras on it, so I'm almost certain that it did update today. What could this be? I've seen another big theory pop up recently saying that this could be some kind of time bomb or portal to the past to reset the storyline, as many theories have suggested. Is it possible that upon the season ending, the orb could explode, sending us back to Season 1 and restarting everything over? To me, that sounds really fun, really exciting, and that would intrigue my interest heavily. If it's not that, then what else could it be? Remember just how powerful this orb seems to be. It single-handedly helped the Doggus robot win after it looked like it had been defeated. Whatever it is, it appears to be very fragile now that it's out of the cage that was the vault. It looks as though it's growing rather unstable, and possibly all that unstableness could build up to an explosion that could send us back in the past. It's a really cool theory, and I want to be as optimistic as I can about that. Now, I also have seen people say that the orb at Loot Lake looks a lot like the Nexus from the event that we had last season with the volcano and the unvaulting. As you can see from Sir Squabblesauce's tweet here, there's a side-by-side comparison, and it definitely looks a lot like it. Like, it's pretty much a sure thing that that's what this actually is. What else would be down there? It would be too big of a coincidence, in my opinion. The Nexus is the thing that the creature was trying to get out of the vault yesterday right as it surfaced on the island, and the Nexus is the reason NeoTilt has been able to get so futuristic with the power supply, the reason that the robot was able to defeat the caddis, and for what's happening right now in the game. Now, when you throw the Vault Keeper Singularity into that mix, it literally just starts to make so much sense as to why the robot would need to pull out the Nexus from the vault. Also, something else that is super interesting is the fact that Singularity Statue in Tilted Towers this whole time was actually a massive sword. When you go and look at the ruins of the caddis's body, you can still see the sword through its corpse. Maybe this was the Caddis Hill POI that was leaked before? I'm a big believer in symbolism, and things are done for a reason. And that's why this next piece of info really means a lot to me. As you can see, at the top of the huge pile of ruin is the very top part of the sword that was visible to us the whole time, Singularity Statue. Not only is the statue all the way at the top, all the way at the tippy-tip top of the ruins, it's also looking up into the sky. Now, you could argue, well, of course, that's just the way the sword landed, but Epic does things for a reason. Is it possible her being at the very top is a signal and is symbolic of her helping the robot and maybe her ultimately being the mastermind behind defeating the caddis? Also, by having her look up at the sky, it's almost like she's looking up to some kind of a higher being or longing for something or someone to come back. Who could that be? More on that in a second. I want to go back to the event for a second when the robot finally got to the vault and pulled out the Nexus. It powered him up so much and rejuvenated him all the way to the point that he turned the battle and won immediately. I previously mentioned that the orb looks like it's getting weaker, like it's disturbed. Unstable, if you will. Maybe that's all because of the robot's usage of it. and now we're just gonna have to deal with whatever side effects come with an unstable orb. Now, remember how I said possibly Singularity could be asking or hoping for someone or something to return to the Fortnite map? Well, I've actually got a pretty amazing theory. First, I'm gonna have you watch this replay mode of the Season 4 rocket launch event moments before Tilted Towers was originally targeted by the rocket. Listen to what the voices are saying. It's important. Hey, pretty cool, right? So it starts out by someone, maybe the visitor, but we're not sure, saying 0 point oscillator on. Someone else then says setting coordinates. After a pause, it's kind of tough to hear what he's saying, but it sounds something along the lines of engaging multi-fueled accelerators. Remember what event we're talking about here. We're talking about the very first event Fortnite ever had that really kicked off and started the whole of the Fortnite storyline. If we're talking about potentially restarting and closing the deal on this storyline stage before this season is over, this is looking really good for that. The rocket event was so big, and we've always been trying to tie things back to the visitor. What if this is finally the part where it all makes sense? Now, I know you're asking me, Dr. P, what are you talking about? And it's all good. Donald Mustard changed his location again recently. He's been changing it like 4 times a day. Literally, it's so hard to keep up with it. But right now, it currently says the 0 point. And here's where you can draw a rather interesting conclusion. The 0 point, does that ring a bell? Remember back to the rocket launch sequence I just showed you of the Visitors event back in Season 4. The very first thing that was said before targeting Tilted Towers was 0 point oscillators on, followed by setting coordinates. That's an almost certain link to the visitor. I mean, it was explicitly said. Also, remember Donald Mustard's location change a few weeks ago? It said zeroing in. We all thought that meant the caddis getting closer to the robot factory, but what if it was just the visitor getting closer on his way back? Now, I googled 0 point oscillator like what the visitor said back in Season 4, and really all I got back was a whole bunch of intricate science stuff. A lot of stuff about quantum physics. If you've ever watched any kind of time travel movie, there's a good chance that you know about quantum physics, and that for the most part being a pretty big part in how the time travel system even works. If we ever get to the point in real life to be able to time travel, it's most likely going to be because of quantum physics. What if back in Season 4 during the countdown sequence, the visitor was actually trying to escape back to the past or to the future by putting down these, quote, quantum oscillators? Guys, could the visitor be coming back? Could that be how this is all gonna end? That would be pretty amazing, I will not lie, and it would be an unbelievably genius way to end this chapter of the storyline, and then of course start over again next season. Nothing's confirmed, guys, so take it all with a grain of salt, but I think it makes a lot of sense. Restarting has been a big theory for a long time. A new map has been in the works for a long time, apparently. And this just makes the most sense to close the chapter. We'll find out sure enough, though. I want to go back to the Nexus being pulled out of the vault for a second and talk about what exactly that could be. If you remember back during the Visitors event from Season 4, you could hear multiple voices. It's not like you're only hearing the same voice the whole time. And the snippet I showed you wasn't the only time that they actually talked during the event. It was just the main part I wanted to focus on at the moment. There's been a lot of speculation about who that second person might have been. Recently, it's come out that apparently that there were 2 people that came out of the meteor back in Season 4. Someone else besides the visitor. Maybe it could be that person. One of the biggest ideas for who the second person could be is Omen. Omen was a skin back from Season 4, back when the theme of the season was superheroes versus villains. Omen, of course, was a villain. Omen has similar attire and dresses similarly to the visitor. Plus, we know the rocket was in the villain's base and was launched from there. We don't know what affiliation the Visitor actually had, whether he was a villain or not, we're not really sure. But all we know is the Visitor launched the rocket from the villain's base, and Omen apparently was the main villain, or at least one of them. Is it a coincidence that the ball that's floating above Loot Lake right now looks so much like this loading screen you can see with Omen looking at what I think is Fate, another skin's back bling? Just a lot of stuff to think about and bear in mind as we go forward here, because at this point, I don't know what I expect. I kind of thought the event yesterday would have caused a lot of destruction. It didn't do too much, but I bet by the time the season ends, we will have a lot of changes. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one, and until then, take it easy.